Hey everybody, Professor Snart checking in. I've just returned from my conference trying to catch up with work and emails and all that kind of stuff. If you haven't noticed or didn't see it, I posted a picture here in our announcements area, which is actually pretty cool, and I wasn't sure if it would work. You have to sort of click like multiple times to get it, but it's one of these where I did the whole 360 thing. This solar panel building is the convention center I was in. So I was in Pittsburgh, land of bridges and rivers. That's PNC Park, where the Pirates play baseball, and around the river to the right there is Heinz Field, where the Steelers play. Anyway, kind of cool. Okay, back to here. All right, so let's get caught up in our class here. It's Tuesday afternoon when I'm recording this. March 19th. Weather is starting to get better and we're getting close to spring break here. So we have just finished up our sonnets unit. Now we're moving into this other poetry unit. There's a quick little feedback thing that I'm getting from you here. It's built into our units, and then we have spring break, and then we turn our attention to drama, sort of the last genre that we cover as part of our Intro to Lit class. So again, I'm going to jump us into Unit 9, but then take a quick look ahead to the drama project as well, since it's a group project and we want to do some front-loading of just organizational and kind of getting groups connected and sort of an accountability piece so everything goes as smoothly as possible. So the main assignment for Unit 9 then, even though I've got this right here, so I'm asking you to look ahead. As part of Unit 9, look ahead to Unit 10. So again, you have a sense of the group dynamic, what's going on, but I'm just going to look at our assignment for Unit 9. So some new poems to read, kind of a good mix of older stuff, newer stuff, different perspectives here, different styles of poetry you'll see right away. Helping just kind of guide our understanding through some library database work. Couple of quizzes. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these quizzes, but they help in some cases to direct our attention to maybe certain aspects of the works that we're reading that we maybe didn't notice the first time around, but not a huge point thing. And obviously you've got the text right in front of you to do when you do the quiz. The main assignment here, though, is actually a fairly conventional one in some senses. It's a basic comparative project, or comparative essay, let's call it, where you are taking one of the poems from our reading for the unit and then just comparing it to a particular piece of music or a song that you like. So don't just like Google some comparison that doesn't really mean anything to you. Try to pick a song that you are familiar with and that you like, and maybe even can use like visual aspects of the song, not just the text. But if there's like a video or other stuff that, that ancillary stuff that goes with music these days, including even maybe stuff about the artist who recorded the song, if there's similarities between that person's, perspective or where they come from or whatever, that maybe is similar to the author of one of the poems too. You could kind of go a little bit broader than just that basic text-based comparison. But that's fundamentally what it is, comparative essay. So you want to have a thesis that these two works share particular things in common. I'm asking you to develop at least three, what we'll call in quotes, body paragraphs. So three fairly specific points of connection or ways that the poem and the song are related. So we don't just want to do a thing about, they're both about love or some super generic, huge kind of a thing. We need to find a theme that's a little more specific than that for our overall kind of thesis statement, and then really dig into that like text-based comparison or maybe visual aspects if we're talking about like a music video, for example, that really show in a concrete way how the poem and the song that you've picked are connected or similar to one another. So again, fairly conventional sort of approach, but the wrinkle that we're going to throw in is that I'm going to ask you to do this as a video essay. So it doesn't mean that you have to be on camera. In fact, you can do something much more creative and beneficial to make your comparison really come through, maybe something more along the lines of what I'm doing here, where you actually capture your screen, think about, what would be effective things to show on the screen as you narrate the essay. But I also don't want you to go to the trouble of writing a whole essay and then just like reading it into the microphone. We want something that's a little more organic than that. Partly because the idea here is that not only do we have a better sense, I guess, of class community and the fact that we're like all humans out there by being able to hear and see each other, but I also feel like if you can talk more or less naturally about the subject, it actually requires you to have a better depth and breadth of knowledge on that subject. It's a little bit like if you can teach somebody something, it really shows, or it's a good test of whether you know it that well or not. So we're going to kind of approximate that. So we don't want you to write the whole essay and just speak it, but you don't want to wing it entirely either. That's why having something on your screen as kind of like visual cues for yourself can be really beneficial. But definitely make a basic outline for yourself. So clearly you'd want to note what your main thesis is, what are your kind of 3 basic points of comparison, and then whatever notes you need for yourself to remind you of what like evidence you want to use, almost like quoting from the text or the poem or the lyrics, for example, that you could actually say or present on the screen as evidence of the connection that would, show this part that would again go to prove your larger thesis. So we want to find that kind of middle point between literally just talking off the top of your head, like I'm doing now, or writing out verbatim a whole essay and just like reading it to us. That's a little too, well, it's redundant for one thing. And it's a little too stiff. We want it more conversational. So whatever's on your screen doesn't matter to me. It could be you. It could be something more sort of strategic to help your comparison come through. Usually just YouTube is a good streaming service. You can always have your video as unlisted, turn the comments off if you just don't want to be that public, but then build it out into your portfolio page, which is ultimately what we'll be posting to our discussion board. We have the usual reply component, so again, using the discussion board to reply, but obviously you're visiting other people's pages and watching the videos that they've created. And there's a little note about why we're doing this. Again, there's pedagogical reasons behind it, but it's also just kind of cool to hear and see each other. So we scroll down a little bit, and this is actually looking towards Unit 10, and the group project we're now moving into as far as drama is concerned, but this is really just an early planning phase. So part of what I'm asking you to do, I think up here, is to let me know if you are available and here to do face-to-face work, since that will be required for this group project. I don't think you can do like collaborative work that we've done before where you're just using a Google slide or a site or whatever. So this really isn't like your preference of whether you'd be here for face-to-face or not. It's literally like, are you not in a different state or whatever? Sometimes, online folks are different state, different country even. I've had people. But if you're local, then you are available to do some face-to-face collaboration. Obviously, you can work out meeting times and exactly how long you want to spend with your group mates, so I'm not going to dictate that. But I do need to know sooner rather than later, so that means now. As people tell me, I'll populate our planning doc down here with group names. So these aren't finalized clearly. I'm still hearing back from other people. But as you start to see your group get populated or your name show up in one of the little planning spaces here, I am going to ask you as part of Unit 9, basically, even though we're in a Unit 10 like document here, is to start kind of getting into the document and going back and forth with your group mates about this primary, secondary means of communication. What is going to be most effective for your group? And you have to agree on that. So obviously, if I'm Miriam, for example, I might come in and say, texting's good, or provide my phone number, provide an email, whatever you want to do, Miriam. But then you have to come back and see what your group has also contributed. So you can't just be like, put your own stuff in and then leave it forever. So there's another group here that'll get populated. And then if anybody is literally like out of state, out of the local area, there is an alternate assignment. But my hope is that everyone is local and can then participate in the face-to-face group assignment. which I'm going to look at now. So this is jumping way forward into Unit 10. And here's what we're doing. I'll populate these as the groups are finalized, right, as part of Unit 9, basically. Quick reading assignment, or relatively quick, I would say, a play called Trifles by Susan Glaspell. There's a work analysis here, again, just sort of helping us pick out certain themes, a little quiz. But then the project, which I hope you'll find really engaging and fun, is to actually stage, clearly not a whole production of the play, that would take forever, but at least a little piece of it. So think about one sort of poignant scene or important part of the play that you think would be possible to stage. So you're going to be, the people in your group will be actors. You might have to conscript other people. You might have to get creative about having people play multiple parts. If the whole group doesn't want to be on camera at all, you'll have to think about what are some other creative ways that we could have, you know, this thing unfolding. Again, get creative with how you can have the script or the play in front of you so you can read the lines, since I doubt people will like memorize all that stuff, without it just being like two people standing there reading lines at one another. Again, you can film in smaller chunks, so you could try your best to like memorize a line at a time almost. Again, get creative, work with your group members to make this happen. And don't just think about the actors involved as part of what we're investigating here. We are really thinking about all of these various aspects that go to make a play. Like, plays were not meant to be read in a textbook. They're meant to be performed and seen in a live action setting. So there's scenery, there's blocking, or like how people move around the stage. People being standing up or sitting down, again, to sort of communicate different themes that might be happening, especially like gender themes that happen in this play. Can you use lighting strategically? Anything else that has to do with staging, props that you might find, building or having scenery in place. Make those choices intentional so that they help to communicate a kind of cohesive feel, but also a feel for the play that helps to communicate those important themes that you derive from your reading and study of the play, more as the text side of things. So you're not just haphazardly deciding to do this versus that or whatever. They're actually intentional choices. And again, you got to work with your group. So taking people's input, sifting through what's going to work and what's not going to work, what's feasible to do in the time and given the resources that we've got, so that everyone feels like they're being heard, with the understanding that like not every single one of your ideas is necessarily going to be actionable, right, by the whole group. And again, it's pretty ambitious, I get it. Limited time, limited, just the problem of scheduling, lots of things to think about here. None of us are trained actors who are going to memorize the whole play, etc., etc. But do your best, right? Make the effort to show that you're trying to make intentional choices to go beyond just two people reading the textbook back and forth between each other. What else? Oh, again, if you need extra people, you could ask if there's others in the class who could join your group, not for the grade part of it, but just to act in whatever you're doing. So they don't really have input, or you don't have to manage that part of it. But if you need another body to be an actor, conscript a friend, family member, whatever. Work with the resources that you've got, but again, try to go beyond just turning a light on and calling that lighting. What else? This is the whole assignment. I think that's about it. Everybody will, everyone will obviously, as a group, build a video. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, again, instead of recording the whole thing at once, if it makes sense to do it in smaller chunks, and then kind of glom those together in simple editing software, feel free to do that too. It doesn't need to be just one take where you're trying to get everything to work just in that one continuous shot. Everyone will build out a new page on their portfolio. All the group members, or each individual will have that new page. Each person in the group will upload the same video, the same product, and then there's a little assignment that goes along with kind of reflecting on from your perspective, why you made the choices for set, scene, character, like why did it unfold the way that it did. So everyone does that part individually. Same video for everybody, different portfolio pages, and obviously different little kind of reflection on it. Then it's really fun to watch what other people do, and we're replying to 2 of those posts. Okay, so that takes us pretty deep then into our due dates, especially given that we have spring break coming up. Unit 9, our comparative essay, a little bit of feedback I'm asking, 5 minutes of your time, and then looking to that first week in April to have the drama unit done. So get with your group now early, decide are people around on spring break to do this? Are people traveling and not available? Have a plan in place so that you can do this as effectively as possible. All right. If you have questions, concerns, you can always be in touch with me. And again, I'm going to pop right back into Unit 9. As you're attending to the main work for Unit 9, be sure that you're also kind of looking ahead, getting in touch with me about your availability, and looking for yourself, whoops, not here, but in here, as I populate the groups, as people let me know what's going on. Okay? Again, be in touch with questions or concerns, and I will talk with everybody soon.